In a world that's constantly changing, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and lost. But fear not, because today we're uncovering a path to tranquility through the fascinating world of Zen stories. Zen stories are like ancient riddles that have the power to make us think, reflect, and find solace within ourselves. They teach us invaluable lessons on how to stay calm and focused, even in the midst of life's storms. If you're searching for answers, if you're feeling lost or confused, it's time to open your mind to the wisdom of this 21 Zen stories. Let these ancient narratives be your companions on this journey of self-discovery. The River and the Rock. A river was flowing down a hill when it came to a rock. The river was not happy. "Why are you in my way?" the river asked. The rock said, "I'm just trying to be strong." The river was still not happy. "But you're making it harder for me to flow," it said. The rock said, "That's okay. The world needs both movement and stillness." The river was thoughtful. "I understand," it said. The river and the rock became friends. They learned to flow together. The Bird and the Cage. A bird was flying in the sky when it saw a cage. The bird was curious. "What's that?" the bird asked. The cage said, "I'm a place for birds to live." The bird was amazed. "But why would a bird want to live in a cage?" it asked. The cage said, "It's safe and secure." The bird was thoughtful. "But it's also boring," it said. The cage said, "That's true, but it's also safe." The bird was still not sure. "I think I'll keep flying," it said. The bird and the cage became friends. They learned to respect each other's choices. The Emperor and the Tea Master. An emperor was visiting a Zen monastery. He was very impressed with the monastery and the monks. He asked the abbot of the monastery to tell him the secret of Zen. The abbot said, "There is no secret, just be yourself." The emperor was not satisfied with this answer. He wanted something more profound. The abbot said, "There is nothing more profound than being yourself." The emperor was still not satisfied. He wanted something that he could take back with him to his palace. The abbot said, "There is nothing you can take back with you to your palace. You have to leave it all here." The Farmer and the Zen Master. A farmer was working in his field when he saw a Zen Master sitting under a tree. The farmer approached the Zen Master and asked, "What is the meaning of life?" The Zen Master smiled and said, "The meaning of life is to live it." The farmer was puzzled. "But how do I live it?" he asked. The Zen Master said, "You live it by being present." The farmer was still confused. "What does that mean?" he asked. The Zen Master said, "It means to be fully aware of the present moment, to be aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your surroundings, to be aware of the breath you are taking and the ground you are standing on." The farmer nodded and thanked the Zen Master. He went back to work, but he was no longer the same. He was now aware of the present moment, and he was filled with peace and happiness. The Fisherman and the Wave. A fisherman was sitting on a beach when he saw a wave coming towards him. He was afraid that the wave would knock him over, so he ran away. But the wave kept coming after him. The fisherman ran and ran, but the wave was always there, chasing him. Finally, the fisherman was exhausted. He stopped running and turned to face the wave. As the wave approached, the fisherman closed his eyes and waited for impact. But the wave never hit him. Instead, it flowed around him and disappeared into the ocean. The fisherman opened his eyes and realized that the wave was not something to be afraid of. It was simply a part of nature, like the wind and the rain. The Leaf and the Tree. A leaf was clinging to a branch of a tree. It was afraid to let go because it didn't know what would happen to it if it fell. But the wind blew, and the leaf was torn from the branch. It fell to the ground, and it was scared. But then, the leaf began to change. It grew roots, and it sprouted new leaves. It became a new tree. The leaf realized that it had not died. It had simply transformed. The two monks. Two monks were walking through a forest when they came to a river. One monk took off his shoes and waded across the river. The other monk kept his shoes on and walked across the river on top of the water. The first monk was amazed. "How did you do that?" he asked. The second monk said, "I don't know, I just did it." The first monk was still amazed. "But how did you do it?" he asked again. The second monk said, "I don't know, I just did it." The first monk was frustrated. "You must tell me how you did it," he demanded. The second monk said, "I can't tell you how I did it. You have to do it for yourself." The first monk was disappointed, but he knew that the second monk was right. He had to find his own way. The caterpillar and the butterfly. A caterpillar was crawling along the ground when it saw a butterfly flying overhead. The caterpillar was amazed. "How did you do that?" the caterpillar asked. The butterfly said, "I didn't do it. It happened to me." The caterpillar was confused. "What do you mean?" it asked. "When I was a caterpillar," the butterfly continued, "I spun a cocoon around myself. Inside the cocoon, I changed into a butterfly." The caterpillar was still confused. "But how did you know how to do that?" it asked. The butterfly said, "I didn't know, I just did it." The caterpillar was amazed. "But that's incredible," it said. The butterfly said, "It's not incredible, it's just nature." The caterpillar thought about this for a moment. "So I can do the same thing?" it asked. The butterfly said, "Yes, you can, but it has to happen to you. You can't make it happen." The caterpillar was disappointed. "But I want to do it now," it said. The butterfly said, "You can't do it now, you have to wait. When the time is right, it will happen to you." The caterpillar was patient. It waited and waited. One day, the caterpillar felt a strange feeling inside of it. It started to spin a cocoon around itself. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar changed into a butterfly. When the cocoon was finished, the butterfly emerged. It was beautiful, and it could fly. The butterfly was happy. It had finally become a butterfly. The stone and the water. A stone was sitting on the edge of a pond. It was very still and quiet. A drop of water fell into the pond and rippled the water. The stone was surprised. "What was that?" the stone asked. The drop of water said, "It was me. I fell into the pond." The stone was curious. "Why did you do that?" it asked. The drop of water said, "I didn't want to be alone anymore. I wanted to be a part of something bigger." The stone was thoughtful. "I understand," it said. The stone and the drop of water became friends. They spent their days talking and playing in the pond. The sun and the cloud. The sun was shining in the sky when it saw a cloud passing by. The sun was not happy. "Why are you blocking my light?" the sun asked. The cloud said, "I'm not trying to block your light, I'm just being myself." The sun was still not happy. "But you're making it harder for me to shine," it said. The cloud said, "That's okay. The world needs both darkness and light." The sun was thoughtful. "I understand," it said. The sun and the cloud became friends. They learned to live together in harmony. The flower and the weed. A flower was growing in a garden when it saw a weed growing beside it. The flower was not happy. "Why are you growing here?" the flower asked. The weed said, "I'm just trying to survive." The flower was still not happy. "But you're taking up my space," it said. The weed said, That's okay. There's enough room for both of us. The flower was thoughtful. I understand, it said. The flower and the weed became friends. They learned to grow together. The tree and the wind. A tree was standing in a field when it felt a strong wind blowing against it. The tree was afraid. "What are you going to do to me?" the tree asked. The wind said, "I'm going to make you stronger." The tree was confused. "How will you do that?" it asked. The wind said, "I'm going to bend you and shake you. I'm going to test your roots." The tree was still afraid. "But that will hurt," it said. The wind said, "That's okay. The pain will make you grow." The tree was thoughtful. "I understand," it said. The tree and the wind became friends. They learned to grow together. The sound of one hand clapping. "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" the master asked his student. The student thought for a long time, but he could not come up with an answer. The master smiled and said, "The sound of one hand clapping is the sound of enlightenment." The tiger and the ox. A tiger and an ox were walking through the forest when they came to a river. The tiger wanted to cross the river, but he was afraid of the water. The ox said, "I will carry you across on my back." The tiger climbed onto the ox's back, and the ox began to swim. The tiger was very scared, and he kept clinging to the ox's fur. The ox said, "If you don't relax, you will fall into the river." The tiger relaxed, and the ox safely carried him across the river. The tiger was very grateful, and he said, "Thank you for saving my life." The ox said, "You are welcome, but remember, I only saved you because you were willing to let go of your fear." The bamboo grove. A man was walking through a bamboo grove when he came across a bamboo flute. He picked up the flute and began to play it. The music was beautiful, and it filled the grove with sound. The man closed his eyes and let the music wash over him. He felt a sense of peace and tranquility that he had never felt before. He realized that the music was not coming from the flute, but from himself. The man opened his eyes and looked around at the bamboo grove. He saw the beauty of the world in a new light. He realized that the world is not made up of separate things, but is one interconnected whole. The tea leaf. A Zen master was sitting in his garden drinking tea. A leaf fell from a tree and landed in his cup. The master picked up the leaf and examined it closely. He saw the intricate veins of the leaf and the delicate hairs on its surface. He realized that the leaf was a perfect expression of the universe. It was a work of art, a miracle of nature. The master put the leaf back in his cup and continued to drink his tea. He savored the flavor of the tea and the beauty of the leaf. He realized that the present moment is all that there is. The past is gone, and the future is not yet here. The master was grateful for the gift of the present moment. He knew that he could never experience the beauty of the leaf again. The moon in the water. A Zen master was teaching his students about the nature of reality. He said, "The moon is reflected in the water, but the moon is not in the water. The water is not the moon." The students thought about this for a long time, but they could not understand. The master said, "The mind is like the water. It is clear and empty, but it can reflect the moon of enlightenment." The students still did not understand. The master said, "The moon is the true nature of the mind. It is always there, but we cannot see it because our minds are clouded by thoughts." The students began to understand. The master said, "To see the moon, we must let go of our thoughts. We must let our minds become like the water, clear and empty." The students closed their eyes and meditated. They let go of their thoughts and opened their minds to the present moment. They saw the moon of enlightenment. The Two Arrows. A man was walking through the forest when he came across two arrows. He picked up the arrows and examined them closely. He saw that the arrows were perfectly straight and that they had been made with great care. He realized that the arrows were a perfect expression of the archer's skill. He knew that the archer had put a lot of time and effort into making the arrows. The man was grateful for the gift of the arrows. He knew that he could never experience the beauty of the arrows again. The Master and the Student. A student approached a Zen master and asked, "What is the meaning of life?" The master replied, "The meaning of life is to live it." The student was confused. "But how do I live it?" The master smiled. "That's up to you." The garden. A Zen gardener was meticulously tending to his garden. He trimmed the branches, watered the plants, and removed the weeds. A passerby stopped to watch him and asked, "Why do you put so much effort into this garden? It's just full of plants." The gardener replied, "The plants are not the point. The point is the care." The mountain. A Zen master was leading a group of students on a hike up a mountain. At the top of the mountain, the master stopped and said, "Look around you. This is what it means to be free." I hope you found this exploration as enlightening as I did. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more insightful content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay mindful, stay peaceful.